value equations. So first of all, we need to review, and this should be review. This should be nothing new. Okay? Absolute value means distance from zero. We've talked about that. We talked about that in Algebra 1. Okay, distance from zero. We symbolize it with two vertical lines, and they act like grouping symbols. So if you have a quantity in those, that's like parentheses. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at this. It says evaluate the absolute value of 4x plus 3 minus 3 1/2 if x equals -2. So what do? Plug in -2 for x. So if I plug in -2 right here, I end up getting the absolute value of -8 plus 3. Or plus 3 and then I write 5. That was smart. Okay, plus 3 minus 3 1/2. So now, what is -8 plus 3? -5. What is the absolute value of -5? +5. Minus 3 1/2 is what? 1 1/2. Okay? So that is your answer. All right, with that in mind, I want you to go ahead and complete this problem for me. Okay, evaluate 8.4 minus the absolute value of 2n plus 5. Okay, let's go. Yep, enter them in.
Oh.
Okay, we're going to be looking at the answers shortly.
Oh.
How did that happen?
18.4 is not the right answer.
Good.
I kind of tricked you there. Okay. The correct answer is actually -1.6.
What the heck? I didn't get that.
So let's go through and solve it. This is a pretty basic problem. We should be able to do this. Okay. All right, so you still have your 8.4 minus -15 plus 5.
Oh, -15.
Yeah, and so then what ends up happening is you have 8.4 minus 10. So your answer is -1.6. Okay. The reason why I coded it the 18.4 is because for those of you that didn't take the absolute value, if you would just do 8.4 minus -10, you would get that 18.4, and that's actually wrong. The answer is -1.6. Okay, do not forget absolute value means distance from zero. So let's go ahead and look at the next slide. It says a standard adult tennis racket has a 100 square inch head plus or minus 20 square inches. Write and solve an absolute value equation to determine the least and greatest possible sizes for the head of an adult tennis racket. So if you notice, this is the formula you're going to use. X minus the central value equals the range. So with that in mind, I've got X minus, what's my central value in this problem? 100. Okay? And that's going to equal the range, which is what? 20. Now, one of the things about this equation is that in order to solve it, if we want to get rid of those absolute value signs, we have to use a positive and a negative sign both. So in order to get rid of those, that means plus or minus 20. Okay, so in order to get rid of those absolute value signs, that means plus or minus 20. And so then now in order to solve that, I'm going to go ahead and add 100 to both sides. And I end up getting x to equal 100 plus or minus 20. And so that's basically two problems. The first problem is 100 plus 20. And the second problem is 100 minus 20. And so it said to determine the least and greatest possible sizes. What's my first size going to be? 120 square inches. And then what's the other one? 80 square inches. So in order to get rid of an absolute value sign, you have to use both the positive and negative. So let's go ahead and look at some bigger equations here. Solve each equation, check your solutions. So let's go ahead and look at that first one. It says 9 equals the absolute value of x plus 12. So in order to get rid of the absolute value sign, what do you have to do? Plus or minus. So I have plus or minus 9 equals x plus 12. What do you do now to solve that? Minus 12. And now I'm going to put the minus 12 in front of the plus or minus sign. So really, this is two problems, negative 12 plus 9 and negative 12 minus 9. What's the negative 12 plus 9 going to be? Negative 3. What's the negative 12 minus 9? Negative 21. So those are your two values of x. Now if we go back and plug those in, negative 3 plus 12 is what? 9. Absolute value of 9 is 9. Negative 21 plus 12. Negative 9, absolute value of negative 9, once again, is 9. So those do, in fact, work. With that in mind, I want you to go ahead and do this next problem. 8 equals the absolute value of y plus 5. 8 equals the absolute value of y plus 5. And when you get done with that, I want you to enter in the greatest of your two answers. I want you to enter in the greatest of your two answers. So I want you to enter in the greatest of your two answers. Okay, I'm going to give you about 10 seconds. Let's go. The biggest of the two answers is 3. Okay, the other one is negative 13. Okay, because what you should have done is you should have had plus or minus 8 equals y plus 5. Subtract 5, you end up getting negative 5 plus or minus 8 equals y. So you end up getting positive 3 and negative 13. Okay, let's look at this next one. All right, so what I want you to do on this one is, how do we do that? How do we make that a plus or a minus?
It would just be a plus.
Maybe both.
It's gotta be negative. You just add the plus?
What do you know about absolute value answers?
How
They're always positive.
Okay,
it's the distance from 0.
they're always positive. So what about in this problem?
We've got to make that a positive.
It's not going to work.
Why is it not going to work? You're right.
I don't know what I'm thinking.
Because if it was, she subtracted it and zero.
Think about what we just said. What do you know about absolute value answers? They are
Positive.
always positive. What did Dwight just say?
It won't work.
Why won't it work?
Oh, because it is already negative.
Because it equals a negative 1. So whenever you take the absolute value of something, can you ever get a negative 1? No. So this one is no solution. Okay? You can never get a negative number if you take the absolute value, and that's all, by itself on that side. Okay, let's look at the next one. An extraneous solution is an extra solution to an equation. That should make sense because extraneous, the root word is extra. So it said solve the equations, then check your solutions. So if you notice here, the difference is now we're throwing in another variable. And so on the right side we have 4x minus 8. And so we're still going to start and solve it the same way. So now what I like to do in this problem, instead of dealing with it as it is, I'm splitting it into two separate problems. I think that'll be a lot easier. Okay, so the first problem is going to be x plus 10 equals 4x minus 8. The next problem is going to be x plus 10 equals. Now when you negate the 4x minus 8, basically that means you switch both signs. So in this case it'll be negative 4x plus 8. So all you do is make whatever the terms are, they're opposites. So in this case it was 4x, so you make it negative 4x. Negative 8, you make it positive 8. So now I'm going to solve each of those equations. So I'm going to move the x over and I get 3x. Move the 8 over, what do you get? 4x minus x. So I'm going to move the 8 over, what do you get? 18. Okay? So what do you get x to equal there? 6. Okay, we'll go back and check it shortly. Over here, let's move over the 4x. So if I move the 4x over here, what do I get? 5x. Move the 10 over here, what do you get? Negative 2. So what does x equal? Negative 2/5. So now we're going to check each of those to see if there's one that doesn't work if we have an extraneous solution. So let's plug 6 in. So when I plug 6 in, I get the absolute value of 6 plus 10 equals 4 times 6 minus 8. So what's 6 plus 10? Absolute value? What's 4 times 6? Minus 8? Good, so that's the answer. Okay. So now you've got negative 2/5. Negative 2/5 plus 10 equals 4 times negative 2/5 minus 8. Okay? So, negative 2/5 plus 10 is what? Close. 9 3/5. So, 9 3/5. What's 4 times negative 2/5? Negative 8/5 minus 8. I just want you to compare those two. What do you notice?
That you can just cancel.
Yeah, there's no way it's going to work. The reason why it's no way it's going to work is what is your answer going to be on the right side? It's going to be what? Negative. What's your answer on the left? Positive. They can't equal each other. So it doesn't even matter. You don't even really need to do that calculation. Okay, so that one doesn't work. Your only answer is 6. Let's look at another one. Okay, 2 times the absolute value of x plus 1 minus x equals 3x minus 4. Now before you can do this problem, you have to simplify it first. We have to get the absolute value so it's all by itself. So that means you got to get rid of the x and you got to get rid of the 2. So I'm going to go ahead and add x to both sides. And now I've got 2 times the absolute value of x plus 1 equals 4x minus 4. What do I need to do now? Can't distribute. I need to divide by 2 because it's multiplication. Okay? Absolute value of x plus 1 equals 2x minus 2. So now we have a problem we just looked at before. So now I'm going to split this up. I've got 2 possible solutions. The first one is x plus 1 equals 2x minus 2. Or, what's my next one? Negative 2x plus 2, because remember, all you do is switch the signs. So now we have to solve each of those. So on this one, you're going to move the x over. What does that become? What does it become? Okay, x equals, move the 2 over. What do you get? 3. Okay. Over here, let's move the negative 2x over here. What do you get? 3. 3x equals 1. So what do you get x to equal here? 1/3. So let's see. So I'm going to go ahead and plug things into this equation right here. So if I plug 3 in, I get 3 plus 1, which is what? Absolute value is 4. If I plug 3 in here, what do you get? 4. Yep. 6 minus 2, which is 4, so there you go. Now I'm going to plug the 1/3 in. So if I plug 1/3 in there, I get 1/3 plus 1, which is what? 1 and 1/3? Okay. Equals 2 times 1/3 is 2/3 minus 2. What type of answer are you going to get? Negative, so that one's out.
How did you get 3 equals x? What did you remember?
I moved the x over here, subtracted x, and then I added 2. Okay, so that's along the same lines. Do you think we need to look at another one? I think we're good. Okay, here's your assignment on pages 30 and 31, 14 through 42, the evens. Okay, 14 through 42, the evens.
Just get on a